Next episode of the Guitar Geek Out Podcast. Today, I've got somebody I've known for quite a long time. If you watch this YouTube channel, you'll see him pop up from time to time. This is my son, Aidan Wray. He's a great guitarist.
Hello, Papa. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So this is going to be a little bit unconventional because I'm going to ask you the same questions as I ask everybody who comes on or thereabouts. And we'll just ramble and have a chat. But I'm going to see if I actually know the answers as we go through. Okay, so
Yeah, I'll play along.
okay, Aidan Wray,
Yes.
what first drew you to the guitar?
Okay. Well, as you say, a lot of it you're going to know, some of it you might not, but we'll piece it all together. But I think my earliest memory of guitar is listening to Red Hot Chili Peppers with you in the car or the van that you had at the time. Whenever we went anywhere, we'd listen to it was Californication and By the Way mostly. And then you showed me obviously the music video to Give It Away, where they're all sprayed in, silver, half naked, and doing all those dances. And I think that's the first time I really recognised the guitar as, something really cool. But I think when it really came about was when you got Guitar Hero 3 for Christmas in 2007.
2007. So you would
Yeah,
have been 7.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, firstly, I just watched you play it, but then I gave it a go on easy, then went to medium, then went to hard, then went on to expert, and it was just a way of just being exposed to all these amazing bands. They just and most of it, obviously you're already a fan of, and it got me a fan of it, and then I think yeah, and that was kind of it for about 7 years. I probably just played Guitar Hero on and off for about 7 years from then. And you always kept saying, God, if you spent that time on a real guitar, you'd be amazing by now. And I was like, yeah, I did keep thinking about that. And then it was just before my 18th birthday that we were watching a Def Leppard concert. It was like something that had been remastered from the Pyromania tour, and I suddenly went, I ain't gonna want to play guitar now. And then we literally the next day we went to Bonner's in Eastbourne and started looking at guitars for my 18th birthday. And I think that was the proper starting point. So I think, yeah,
Excellent. And I remember that very, very well. And I think before we go to the actual real guitar,
yeah,
we had just about every version of Guitar Hero.
yeah,
And the one you were the most amazing on was the Van Halen version.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
I've still got some footage of you as a very small boy, absolutely acing Eruption on the hardest level. And what did you get to in the world? Your score in the world?
At one point, I was 53rd in the world, at least on PS3. Yeah, which I was quite chuffed with that. Yeah. But it was really good because you'd already introduced me to Van Halen. I remember being about 11 or 12, and you showed me Van Halen 1 and 1984, and they just blew my mind. So then to be able to play it on a video game was just unbelievable. And I think, yeah, it was like it's you. So I always compare you really to Jack Black in School of Rock because you're like, you just told me everything there is to know. It's very good.
Actually, I'll take that. It's a compliment.
Yeah,
I like that. I love that film as well. There we
yeah,
go. So I kind of remember that for your 18th birthday, you kind of went, I'm ready.
yeah,
And I've been going, thank God.
yeah. Definitely, definitely.
And we drove down to Eastbourne and we went into Bonner's and we tried some guitars,
Yeah,
which leads us to your first guitar, which was, tell us about that.
absolutely. So I went in there knowing absolutely nothing about guitars, and I narrowed it down to two, and the two couldn't have been any further apart. You had this cherry burst Epiphone Les Paul, and then there was a Ibanez, like black, just really heavy metal kind of Kirk Hammett looking thing. You couldn't pick two further apart guitars, and I settled on the black, the Ibanez, because we discovered if you shine it under a light, it had like these glittery sort of metal flaky bits in it, and that was just like really awesome. So what it is, I don't know the exact name of it, but it's an Ibanez Geo, and it's like an entry level sort of 150 sort of price range guitar, but I really like it, and it's got 22 frets, which is probably more than I needed at the time. But it sounded good, it's got 2 humbuckers, and yeah, that was just what I played on, and at the same time, you also got me Rocksmith, which is like the real life guitar version of Guitar Hero, where you can plug your guitar into your PS4, and all the notes for a song come flying at you, and you got to try and. I found that a bit too much at first, but it was still good to just get familiar with all the different types of techniques, and just play very basic songs, like. Well, the first song I sort of learned was that Bring Me the Horizon song, Drown. A simplified version of that, it was just 4 chords basically, but it was that sort of stuff. I wanted to just go straight into playing Eruption and doing the tapping, but no, I had to work my way up to anything even remotely like that. But yeah, that was all on the Geo. So yeah, I mean, I could get it if you wanted, but I might risk my bum sort of being in camera shot. Or you could maybe put a picture up of it or something like that.
We'll see what we can do with the video. So what was I going to say? There, yeah. So I remember that because that is what kickstarted me picking up the bass. Actually, I'll give up my guitar. I'm no good at it. I'll play the bass, and that's where it started. So we sat on the floor playing Drown.
We did, and we were so stiff, like
yeah,
as if we were going to get shot if we got a note wrong. But it was really fun. But you had it was a P bass, wasn't it? So it was this big, chunky thing.
I've still got it. PV Milestone.
That's it. Yeah,
it was my first one. Brilliant. So, and also we've modded that Geo, that Ibanez, haven't we?
Yeah, we've installed a kill switch into it. Not for any particular reason, just thought it looked and sounded cool. So if I'm ever playing Buckethead, which is very, very rare, I could just tap it and I go and it lights up.
Excellent.
Yeah, another reason to use it. But yeah, even though it's probably it's probably the least good guitar in my collection, I don't think I'd ever part with it because it was my first one. So yeah.
Brilliant. We're going to work through your guitars. So what came next?
Okay. What came next was we call it the Frusciante because we've made it look like John Frusciante's guitar, and it's just like a kind of like a stock. There it is, a stock Stratocaster made by Tanglewood, but we've relicked it to kind of look a bit like the Frusciante one.
Make it look like it's been dragged down the car park.
That's it, yeah. And I got it. It was really random. My uncle Jamie just got it for free, and then he gave it to me because he was the only person he knew that plays guitar. And it was so manky. It was like sitting in a cave for 30 years, wasn't it? And you had to wipe all the grime off it and stuff. But once all that was done, it was like, oh, this is a really nice guitar actually. And to this day, I think it is my favorite guitar. It's probably only worth like 50 quid, but there's just something about it that is perfect. The tone and the feel of it and the look of it. It is the most perfect guitar in the world for me, and I don't really know why. but that's what that is. I think you mastered it with your setup on it, definitely. And I think I that's the point where I think I preferred single pickups to humbuckers, mostly for the added flexibility. Whereas humbuckers, you've always got that heavy tone, whereas with single coils you can get a much lighter tone. But yeah, that's my favorite guitar still. But that was what came next.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next one.
Okay.
You don't have to do them in order.
That's the thing.
If you can remember.
I was trying to, but it's a little bit tricky sometimes because I think I counted. I've got 10 now, so I'm doing well. So the next one was one you got think it must have been for my 19th birthday. It's Tanglewood Les Paul in like a cherry sunburst, and that was my first sort of proper like, ooh, this is a slightly higher price range guitar. This is very nice. um, I mean, you've done a setup and that on that and everything, but I think that, yeah, that was a really nice guitar. It surprised me how different it felt, because obviously Les Pauls have a shorter scale length, so all the frets feel that much closer together, which if you're used to stretching, suddenly you're overstretching, so you have to kind of get used to that. But I think tonally it's a really, really nice guitar. Yeah.
It's got some amazing pickups in it, actually. British designed, what they call 58 Entwistles, and they do sound
they are
absolutely brilliant.
absolutely amazing. Yeah. I don't use that one too much now, but every now and then when I pick it up, I remember it's actually really, really nice. Yeah, really feels really small, which makes it feel easy to play. And I'm just staring at it because it's in the corner of the room. But but yeah, I really, really like that one.
Okay, so that's 3. What's
3.
next?
Okay. I think the next one, once we got into lockdown 2020, I ordered myself a Kramer Beretta Special, which is, it's kind of the sort of thing you'd see maybe Eddie Van Halen playing in the Sammy Hagar era. This is kind of little thing with the kind of hockey stick shaped headstock.
The headstock, yeah.
And that sounds amazing, absolutely amazing. It's got that zebra humbucker in it, which I don't know what that actually means. It looks cool and it sounds cool. Just the only problem is not the most versatile, because it is the one humbucker, and I think it's actually just got one volume knob. It's not even got a tone knob on it. So it's not the most versatile, but that was really exciting. That sort of coincided with when I was starting to play Van Halen, which was the start of my pedal obsession. But I think we can come back to that in a bit. That was, that's something else. So yeah, that was that, and that's in like a, I don't know what you'd call it. It's just like a race car blue color.
Yeah, really nice metallic
yeah.
blue.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. That's
Okay,
that
what's
one.
next?
Oh, I think that would be the next one would be the Frankenstrat that we built together. So we had a little side project in 2020. Yeah, well, we just wanted to make a replica of Eddie Van Halen's Frankenstrat, and the red one.
Can you
I
grab
think,
that? Have you got that?
yeah. So this is a little replica Frankenstrat, which we're really, really happy with. Obviously, you sourced all of the parts and built it, did the wiring and set it up and everything, and I was in charge of doing the masking tape so that we could obviously spray all the patterns on, which was a bit of a pain in the ass, but it was really fun. I
I
was just
think
going to say,
what I'm proud of,
yeah,
as well as the masking, is they hold up the body just a bit closer to the camera. Is that it was painted in the same order as the original one, so when you take the tape off, there's some transparency going on.
yeah, oh yeah. I'm not sure I'll be able to pick that up, but sort of under that blob of red, you can see the black line still going through it. Yeah, that's really cool. So you start with a black guitar, then you masking tape it, spray it white, peel the tape off, and you've got a black and white guitar. And then you do it again with red paint, and then you get this, and it's just amazing. And it sounds and plays amazing. The only thing is, we have a bit of trouble with the locking nut, I think, which makes it probably not even. It's not even the locking nut. It's just the fact that when you play Van Halen, you are absolutely bashing the crap out of the tremolo arm, and then you go out of tune within 2 songs. But that's probably what happened to Eddie anyway.
Yeah, totally.
Chucked
And
it to the
I
guitar
remember it was kind of during lockdown at the stage where you could move around, but you weren't allowed to go in people's houses.
Yeah,
And I was ferrying the guitar because we lived 30 miles apart. I was ferrying the guitar up and down from my house to your house and sitting outside for
Yeah,
handovers, and we sat outside your house burning the cigarette burns on the headstock.
yeah, yeah. And you don't smoke, but you had to puff on them to get them to light up, which was funny but worrying at the same time. But yeah, that was an experience. You just sort of sitting on the front garden doing that while we kind of exchanged parts and things.
Yeah, it was good. And so, what we're going to do with this is on another podcast, I was talking to Eric Wersing of Solar Federation, and he is a massive Eddie Van Halen fan. He's gone right down the rabbit hole of sound. And you and me and him are going to get together for a future podcast. We're going to talk. We're just going to do Van Halen, and we're going to compare our Frankenstrats because he's built one as well.
Oh, brilliant! No, that would be really, really fun. Because I watched the Rush one that you did with him, which was really cool. But I think geeking out about Eddie Van Halen, that's gonna be great.
So we'll sort that out.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So Frankenstrat done. What's next?
Okay. This one. Oh, if you can even see it. It is a replica that you built for my 21st birthday of Alex Lifeson's Sportscaster, which he used on the music video for Distant Early Warning in 1984. It got to my 21st birthday, and you asked me, all right, I can either get you a really nice guitar, or I could build you a really nice guitar. What would you like? Pretty much, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I just sent you a picture of this, basically. Well, screenshot from the old music video, really pixelated and everything. I said, I want that. And you said, oh, all right then. And then you did it.
And
And
the
it,
research started because the
yes,
wiring's all over the place. The
God, yeah.
tone switch is in the wrong place.
Yeah, the tone switch is up here. Yeah. I suppose we could probably do our own separate video entirely
Yeah,
about this one, but it's got like a smoked chrome pick guard, which from that angle looks really cool, but from any other angle you go bang with the light. We got Damasio humbucker there, which is really nice. We expected it to be this really powerful sort of sound, and it wasn't. It was like really light, jangly 80s sound, which is awesome. You described it as sounding a bit like panpipes,
yeah.
because there's this one muted arpeggio in "di do 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 da da da" by the Police, which if you do it through these, it does sound like panpipes, and I really like that. um, yeah, it's a really nice guitar, and it's the back of the neck's kind of like tiger's eye kind of pattern, which is really nice. I don't know whether the original had that or not, but that's what I wanted. um, yeah, and the jack is sort of inside out for easier access, which is what Alex did.
Yeah.
Um,
So,
and
and this
there's
is called the Hentor Sportscaster.
yeah, that's right. Before it was called the Pork Flapsicaster when it was white, and then he covered it in red, and it became this. And then we got a Floyd Rose Railtail. Is it called?
That's it.
That's it. Because I decided I didn't want all the aggro of Floyd Rose's after the experience we had with the Frankenstrat, where we kind of had to fiddle with. Well, you had to fiddle with it a lot. I think I just wanted something that was just straight in, and yeah, it's a gorgeous guitar. Thank you, Papa. One of my favourites, definitely.
You're very welcome. And yeah, again, I'm really proud of that one.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, what's next?
So this one was my first signature model. I know we've got replicas already at this point, but this is a vet Young's Ibanez YY10 Talisman, I think it's called, in slime green. It comes across more yellowy in certain lightings, which kind of contradicted what they look like in the stock photos, but I actually really like what it looks like. It's like a toxic waste sort of alien, just bam color, bam.
Bam.
And I absolutely love it. It's so unique, and it's just got a really kind of like ethereal sound. If you plug it into a chorus and something and a reverb, it's just absolutely gorgeous. And I think the best bit is that I went to see Covet in 2022, and I asked the vet if we could, come in through the back door, before the show, just sort of say hi and all of that. And she said, yeah. And so I actually met a vet, which was my biggest moment of being starstruck. Like I felt a bit like Wayne and Garth going, "We're not aware of it." It was a bit like that. And she signed the head sock with a little smiley face. So I was really happy with that. And also I got a signature from what was at the time the drummer Forrest and a saxophone player that collaborated with Vet on one of her songs. It's called Love Spell, which is now out on the most recent album, but at the time it wasn't. So that was a covenant, an impromptu thing, but that was really good. And for some reason, I never take the tag off because it reminds me of that time that we went into Bonner's and we saw it for the first time. And it again, I keep quoting Wayne's World, and it was like, oh yes, it will be mine. I just saw it and I wanted it so badly, and for some reason, keeping the tag on just makes me think of that. So it's a really special guitar. Um,
And it's one that we're not allowed to clean because it's been signed.
that's it. Yeah, you've worked on it, but I asked you not to. Yeah, clean it. It's fine. And also, because it's kind of built to have a vet's alternate tuning in mind. So I decided not to put it in standard. Currently, it's in Open G, which lets us play a lot of Rolling Stones songs because Keith played in Open G. I think it's Open G, which lets you play things like "Can't Hear Me Knocking," "Brown Sugar." Jumper Jack Flash, all the ones with the weird tuning I do on there, and it sounds really good, really, really good. So yeah, it's a really special guitar to me, that one. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was a very long day waiting for Covet to arrive because they were delayed and we stood outside for hours and hours.
Yeah, God, she posted on a Instagram story that they were stuck in traffic on the motorway, and we'd already been sitting outside the venue for at least an hour at that point. It's like, oh no, but it worked out in the
It
end.
worked out brilliant. Yeah.
Really good.
Okay. What else? What else is
Okay.
in the rack?
Okay, I think we've got two more now. So this is another very, very special one. This was like a dream guitar day, and it's another signature guitar, and it's Alex Lifeson's Epiphone. So what would you call it? Yeah, so this Epiphone Access like just sort of limited edition thing that he did a couple of years ago, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. I mean, it's sort of meant to be the more affordable version of a Gibson that he sold. I think it was in 2012 while he was on the Clockwork Angels tour, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. And it's unlike anything I've ever played, mostly because it's a Les Paul with a Floyd Rose, which is really, really unusual. And it's all sort of gold plated. The fretboard is ebony, which is really nice. It's got Alex Lifeson's sort of signature engraved in that bit, the bit that you cover the truss rod hole. Pearlescent logo, and it's got so much tweakability because you can. It's the only guitar I've got this on, apart from the Sportscaster, where you can pull switches upwards to split the pickups, basically. So you can have humbuckers, or you pull the switch and it turns into a single coil. And if it's in middle position and you pull a switch up, it inverts it or makes it go out of phase, like it does the Peter Green sort of thing. I don't really understand it, but it does that, which sounds really good. And it's just awesome, and it stays in tune so perfectly now that you've set it up. I can do loads of dive bombs, and it'll only be like that much out of tune after a couple of songs. Yeah, absolutely love it. This was a proper dream guitar kind of moment because, I mean, it was way out of my price range, but with a bit of saving up and uh, paying free scheme, things like that, it was possible. And but it came with a hard case and everything. It was really, really good. Yeah.
So this we're starting to get a hint here of some of your, which will be another question, your guitar influences.
Yes,
Because there's a
absolutely.
couple of Alex Lifesons going on there. Okay, what else
Definitely.
have you got?
Okay, so the last, well, no, it's actually okay. Two more. Okay, this is a bit of an unusual one. It's an unbranded 12-string Telecaster, which I got recently. Very unusual. Um, it sounds amazing. It's been set up really nicely. And I've always really loved the sound of these Telecaster single coils. So this was my first experience with that. And to be able to play it on a 12 string, you can really go into some Led Zeppelin territory with that. Yeah, it's not a lot else to say about it. It's unbranded, which doesn't really matter. But it's really nice. I mean, someone's put a Fender plate on the back there, but I know that it's not a Fender, but I do really, really like it.
It's pretty cool, quite
Yeah.
unusual.
Yeah. And then the last one. So the last one I got just a couple of months, might not even be 2 months ago, but it's an Epiphone ES335 dot in natural. That's what they call the color. And it's really, really nice. I mean, one of my dream guitars has always been something that looks like Alex Lifeson's, really classic 355 that he had in the early days. Um, but that kind of like off-white, creamy sort of ivory color is really hard to find in that guitar shape. So I didn't really want to get a white one because it's too white. But then somehow on Facebook Marketplace, I just stumbled across this one and it's in natural color. And from certain angles and lightings, it kind of does look like the off-white color that Alex Lifeson had. So I'm really happy with it. Really, really gorgeous. It sounds really nice. For humbuckers, they're really clean and they're not too heavy. They're like really light sounding humbuckers. And yeah, not a lot more to say. It's my first semi-hollow. It's my first, sort of 335 sort of shape. And yeah, it feels really nice. I like it a
Nice.
lot.
That's a nice
Yeah.
guitar. Okay,
Okay.
so before we move on to other gear, let's talk about your musical influences.
Okay. So I've got three sort of main guitar heroes, which you could probably gather from, the guitars that I've shown. Number one for me is Alex Lifeson of Rush, because his playing is just so incredible. He's the only guitarist in a three-piece band, so he's got a huge responsibility to sound massive. And he does that by creating all of these really unique chords that will have, like 2 or 3 octaves on them, and he'll play these arpeggios that have all these extra notes ringing out, and it's just incredible. His rhythm playing is just really masterful and just proggy, and then he kind of juxtaposes that with a really chaotic, just insane lead style. Which, if you listen to a song like La Villa Strangiato, where he's just absolutely shredding, and then he goes straight into a really slow melodic piece. It's just crazy. He's my biggest guitar hero, definitely. I think number two would be John Frusciante from Red Hot Chili Peppers, because I really like his funky sort of playing style. If you listen to riffs like Can't Stop or um, Give It Away, he's just got that really funky thing going on, which really inspired me to focus on left hand muting, because it's sort of the way he plays, when he does the funky sort of wacka wacka stuff, he's strumming as if he's going to hit all 6 strings, but he's only fretting one note. And to be able to play that one note, but not have the other 5 strings playing out, that was like a whole rabbit hole in itself. And I think it's really, really majorly like improved my playing a lot. So I think, yeah, big influence. And number 3 would be Eddie Van Halen. I mean, he was my first guitar hero, but I think in terms of influencing my playing style, it's only a little bit, because I can't play most Van Halen. But yeah, I mean, what can you say about Eddie? That hasn't been said. Just absolutely amazing. Eruption, Spanish Fly, I'm the One, things like that. Just awesome riffs, awesome lead playing, and his sense of rhythm is just unmatched. That's the real special thing about Eddie, his rhythm playing. If you listen to a song like I'm the One, where it's going well, I can't even sing it, but if you slowed it down, it's not like straight up and down alternate picking. It's got like there's a swing to it. So he's going dunk, ka-dunk, dunk, ka-dunk, dunk, ka-dunk, dunk, dunk. But if you speed it up, it goes and it's impossible to replicate. I'm just blabbering now, but yeah, impossible to replicate. It's just amazing. So yeah, they're my 3 guitar heroes.
I think that's not blabbering. I think that's showing how much of a fan you are.
Yeah. I think that will definitely be one for, the future video where we do Van Halen. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, there's your influences.
Yep.
So tell us about your amps and your effects.
Okay. So I've only really got one amp that I use, but it was always my dream amp, and it's a Roland's Jazz Chorus 40, or a JC40 for short, and it's just absolutely amazing. It's just so clean. It's just the perfect platform for pedals. You don't have to rely, you don't rely on the gain that's in it, because the gain's all right, but just having it completely clean and then having your pedals through it is just unbelievable. And the chorus that's built into it is just absolutely amazing. It's the really shimmery sort of mid to late 80s chorus that I love, that you'd hear on albums like Power Windows or Hold Your Fire by Rush. Just really pristine sort of sounding. And it's got 2 speakers, which lets you do kind of a stereo kind of thing. I know it's not true stereo if you've not got 2 amps, on either side of the room, but you can have, one playing dry and then one playing wet. And so if you plug in a stereo chorus or reverb pedal into it, it sounds absolutely huge. And yeah, I love it. I think eventually I'd probably like to get a tube amp, but you need to be able to play them loud. That's the only thing, and I don't get to do that very often. So I think, at least for now, yeah, the JC40 is perfect. Yeah, absolutely love it.
Okay, so that's your platform, because the next thing about you, and we've done a few videos on pedals on the YouTube channel, but it's your it was an Eddie Van Halen term actually. He called himself a tone chaser, which is I would say that you are as well, because you've got a huge collection of pedals, and the Roland is the kind of the canvas that you play it through. So tell us about
Yeah,
some of that.
definitely. Okay, so I mean, I don't even know where to start with this, because I think I'd almost say I'm more of a pedal nerd than a guitar nerd, which I don't know whether that's good or not. But I think the main thing was, in lockdown when we were building the Frankenstrat, I started trying to get sort of a rough sort of Eddie Van Halen tone. I didn't have a lot of money, so I was getting, like secondhand Boss pedals off of eBay, which are just amazing. I wasn't quite in the rabbit hole yet, but I was getting things like like the Boss BF3 chorus, no, flanger, sorry, which you've now got, to do like the Unchained riff, or Hear About It Later, or Ain't Talk About Love, and that's just incredible kind of engine sort of sound. And there was also a MXR Phase 90, which is his, iconic phaser sounds, which you can hear throughout the entire Van Halen 1 album. You've also got that. I've found as I've got more deeper into the rabbit hole, I ended up selling them to you, and then you make really good use of them with your bass. This is really good. What else was there? There was a Boss CH1 Super Chorus, which you've also got. And that's really good. So it was mostly Boss pedals. I also got the SD1 Super Overdrive and the DS1 Distortion. All the classics, which were really good. I think after that, when I started trying to replicate, like Alex Lifeson's tone, that's when I really started to venture out. Because he used pretty much every pedal in existence, especially in the 80s. You're talking overdrive, compressor, delay, chorus, flanger, reverb, phaser. It's just all of it. Um, so yeah, I've probably got one of every effect you can have, and I've got a lot of one effect, which is overdrive. I'm absolutely obsessed with overdrive pedals because there's just so much to explore. I mean, there's ones that replicate different amp tones. There's ones that just are from different decades altogether, so they could give a completely different flavor. Different circuits. It's just seemingly endless, and it's really addictive. So I think overdrives, yeah, that's the one where I'm just constantly trying new things.
How many
Um,
overdrives do you think you've had?
ooh,
Because
I
every
mean,
I don't know, loads.
yeah, I mean, even on my board right now, I've got 4, which is quite a small number compared to what it used to be. So probably in total, I've probably had maybe like 20 overdrives, which for some pedal collectors isn't a lot, but for other people is a lot. They just all sound so different. I mean, there's like a tube screamer, which gives you a strong mid-range boost and cuts the low end. There's a clon, which is a less exaggerated boost, but it still gives you a nice warm sort of upper mid range. There's a blues breaker style circuit, which I think is more of a flat sort of EQ. The word transparent is controversial now, so I won't use that. And yeah, there's just loads, and it's so good. I'm looking down at my pedal board now. Um, I suppose I could maybe list sort of like my top 5, maybe sort of favorite
Yeah,
pedals at the
do that.
moment.
Top 5.
Yeah. Number one would be, well, not in order, not in order, but number one would be the Wampler, what is it, Mini Ego compressor. So it's this tiny little skinny blue thing. And it's so amazing. It's really good for that Frusciante sort of the funky wacka wacka sound, because what it does, it squeezes uh your tone so that all the lows are being brought up and all the highs are being brought down, and it just makes everything punchier, more pronounced and accented. So that's just it's always on, never ever ever off. So that's really important. Number 2 would be the JHS Morning Glory V4, which is a blues breaker style overdrive, and that's another always on pedal. It's absolutely pristine. It doesn't even sound like it's an overdrive. It sounds like it's just enhancing your existing tone. It's just crystal clean, sparkly, and just amazing. So that's always on. That might be my favorite pedal of all time because I don't know what I'd do without it if I'm honest. That's the one. Um, Next, I would put the Lurkst Bytor, which is another signature Alex Lifeson pedal, which is like this double pedal that's got an overdrive and a boost, and it's replicating his signature range of amps, which are called, I think they're just called Lurkst. Really sort of bitey, crunchy. I think they're quite martially, but with an extra something, and I think that's really good for like a halfway point between a clean tone and a distorted tone. So anytime I'm playing Rush or even something like AC/DC, that's always on because it's just got that perfect bit of crunch on it. Um, Fourth, I'd put the Boss Chorus CE2 Wazacraft, because for a couple of reasons. One, it's got a preset on it that replicates the CE1, which was the first ever chorus pedal, which was a massive, great unit in the late 70s that was used by, John Frusciante, Alex Lifeson, David Gilmour. The chorus pedal, and it's built into this little, Boss compact Wazacraft, so that's incredible. That's the one that I have on most of the time. But it's also got a CE2, which is the more prominent one used in the 80s, and it's got a nice vibrato sort of setting as well for some really crazy stuff. And it's the first pedal in my chain that's got stereo, so I've got that one going into stereo. Which, if you plug that into stereo into your jazz chorus, that's just unbelievable. Yeah, really crazy. And then, yeah, I suppose number 5 would be my Strymon Cloudburst, which is this really ambient, just cavernous reverb, which has like a really clever, I don't know what you call it. It's like it adds an orchestra to what you're playing. I guess it's some sort of pitch shifting effect where it reads what you're playing and then it adds an octave over it or something like that. But not only have you got this really cavernous, massive, huge reverb, but you've also got like a full orchestra playing on top of you, and it's just the most mind-blowing thing. We've sort of played some songs, kind of things like Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd or Nothing Else Matters by Metallica, something that's kind of sort of jangly and soft. If you add that cloudburst to it, it just sounds absolutely huge.
It sounds like if you got a 10-piece string orchestra behind you,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
absolutely mind-blowing.
I don't know how it works, and that's the only thing that I've got as boutiquey as Strymon or anything like that. But I just thought it was worth it for this. I mean, Strymons are usually like that, but this one's compact and it's really amazing. Yeah. So, I'm out of breath again because I think once I get going, I don't stop. But that would be my top 5 pedals. But on top of that, I've got loads. I've got an EQ, phasers, flanges, distortions. Just yeah. I think I got a problem.
You've got a pedal problem.
I got a pedal problem.
Rather than the Guitar Geek Out, this is the Pedal Geek Out episode.
Yeah.
And you've got a pedal called Freak Out that's quite good.
I've got a pedal called Freak Out, which was made by Digitech, and that's another really incredible thing. So you play a note, and then you step on it, and it creates feedback, as if you were holding your guitar up against a rack of Marshalls, and it's incredible. It tracks so unbelievably well, and it's a perfect way to end a song. If you think like Danny California by Red Hot Chili Peppers, you've got the really fast solo, and then it ends with just all these bits of feedback and like harmonies, things ringing out and all of that. It's really good for that sort of thing. It's a bit niche, I'd say. I mean, I'm only using it for one note per song, and it takes a good chunk of power, something like 300 milliamps. But that's really cool. Yeah,
I like that. Good. Right. So that's guitars and gear, and we talked about one amp. You've got a couple of other little amps, but we'll leave those. So now I'm going to go into some random questions.
Okay.
Now, you've been to quite a few concerts. Could you say which is the best concert you've been to, or are there a few that are tussling for the top 3?
See that? Yeah, that is tricky. I mean, I've got a list going on my phone where I've listed every concert that I've been to, and I think it's around about 25 now. So I'm doing all right. But I'd probably have to put it into a top 3 if I'm honest. The first one that comes to mind, I think, is Metallica, which we saw in 2019, because that was incredible. That was at Twickenham, that's it. Yeah, and God, all the fire that they've got that raises higher than the stadium roof itself. And just oh God, and they play so amazingly. It's incredible. They play all the the early fratty stuff and all the hits. It's just really incredible. Yeah. The beginning of One, the song One, where it's like all the tank noises and gunshots going all around the stadium and the explosions. It's just, that was insane, absolutely insane. Yeah, so I that's probably the one that comes to mind first. I think there's a few others. I mean, there's loads of amazing ones. There's like Iron Maiden, Sabaton. We've seen cover bands, Moving Pictures, who are Rush cover bands, the Australian Pink Floyd, all that sort of stuff. But another important one for me is I'm a big fan of baby metal, which you could probably tell by the posters behind me, which is this Japanese girl band basically that fuse Japanese pop with heavy metal, and it's the most bizarre thing ever, But I really adore them, I just think the dancing is like insane, the singing's crazy, and I think seeing them live was a really big moment for me. It was kind of a bit like when I met Yvette. It was just kind of starstruck kind of moment, and I'll be seeing them for the 6th time this year in May at the O2, which will be amazing. So yeah, I think I could pick any of those at random, and just seeing them live is really amazing because it's unlike anything else, as you know. I think what would be number 3? It's tough. Could be the last time we saw Red Hot Chili Peppers actually. We saw them twice in 2 years because they released 2 albums back to back. The first time was pretty good, but I had a sense that they were kind of still warming up. They got back with Frusciante after a 10-year gap. I felt like they were warming up a bit. But the second time round, it was just flawless, and they played some really like hidden gems like Soul to Squeeze and I think, and we got Under the Bridge both times, which is good because it's always 50-50 whether you get that or not. So yeah, I think that would be it. I think Metallica, Baby Metal, and Chili Peppers. But there's so many others, that I could list. But yeah, I think that would be it. Yeah,
Brilliant.
yeah,
I think, yeah, because I've been to hundreds. It is hundreds of
yeah.
concerts over the years, and I've seen the Chili Peppers 7 times. Is it 3 times with you?
It would be, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I love that. But I think for me, out of all of those hundreds, the most impressive concert I went to is the same Metallica one,
Yeah,
with the
yeah,
fire that was. It felt like it was cooking in your face.
yeah. And we were really far away, but it didn't matter, did it? It was
That
just,
didn't
and the
matter.
size of the stage, some, concerts have screens where you could see them a bit better, but this screen was the entire width of the stadium, it's just incredible. Yeah,
That
really
was good.
amazing.
And I think a special one for me that was one of the most memorable was we saw Def Leppard do the was it Hysteria 40th anniversary, 30th anniversary.
No, so
But
it would have been 40, would it? No, 87. It was in 2019, so that would be 32nd anniversary.
something like
Yeah,
anyway, it was a big anniversary, and they did the whole of the Hysteria album, and Def Leppard. I saw them do that first time round when I was 15 years old at the Hammersmith Odeon. So to go back with my
yeah,
son and do
yeah.
it again, and we had really good seats, and we were dangling the Yeenie and Jack flags, and Rick
Off the
Savage came and gave
balcony.
us a wave.
Yeah, he did. He did. He sort of he looked up at us like that, and then went, hey, that was amazing. I mean, I'm really jealous that you got to see them back in the day because they would have just been just mind blowing. I mean, they're still amazing now, of course, but back then, that's
Yeah, we
like,
had Steve Clark on guitar,
yeah,
and Brian May from Queen came on and did the encore with them. Um, so I can remember it like it was yesterday.
yeah,
Amazing,
yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
Right, if you could jam, I know who you're going to say. If you could jam with any musician, live or dead, who would it be?
Yeah, it would have to be Alex Lifeson of Rush. I think Eddie Van Halen, I'd probably be a bit intimidated by because he's just a guitar god. And John Frusciante, I don't know, it could be fun jamming with Frusciante, but he's a bit of a perfectionist. I think we might tread on each other's toes a bit. So I think Alex Lifeson, who's just so humble and just unlimitedly creative, yeah, it has to be him, definitely. Even if it was just playing some Rush songs together, that would just be amazing.
And
Yeah,
we were
and I
lucky
think,
enough to actually see Alex, weren't we? So we went to the
yeah,
Geddy Lee book tour. We saw
yeah,
him in London, and he was bringing a different guest on every day. And we were lucky enough to see Alex Lifeson came out for the second part. And you
yeah,
got so excited, you stood up and shouted at the top of your voice, "Lurksty boy!"
yeah, and then everyone in the crowd cheered because I would have must have been loud enough to be heard. I could have pissed myself when he walked on stage. Seriously, he's my hero. That's the annoying thing. I didn't get into Rush until after they'd retired, so the chance of seeing them, even if it's just talking about a book, that's just insane. You know, yeah, really amazing. Yeah.
Okay, we're nearly at the end. So if you could have any guitar, price no object, what would you have?
Yeah, I think I mentioned it earlier, but it's got to be that white Alex Lifeson ES 355 that's just synonymous with him. Absolutely incredible. I mean it's a 355, which is like a slight upgrade to the 335, which I've got, and it's got that I don't even know what it is. It's that switch that everyone says that doesn't. It's just keep it
Yeah.
off. Whatever that is, I want it. And yeah, just that kind of off-white sort of ivory sort of color, really nice. Apart from that though, see what I really like James Hetfield's kind of jagged white Explorer. You can get that. You can get a signature one of that for
It's ESP, isn't it?
yeah. I think so. You can get a signature one of that for maybe 1,500, which isn't too bad. So it's like, I mean, a white Explorer looks cool as it is, but it's got kind of those jagged edges, like a bit like the Metallica logo. I think I'd really like that one. Yeah.
Excellent. And you've probably got it already because you've got so many pedals. Is there an ultimate pedal?
Yeah. It's tough because I've got obviously a lot that I'd really like that are my dream pedals. But I think recently Yvette Young actually came out with a signature pedal. She worked with Walrus Audio. It's called the Etherealizer Chi, and it's this massive great thing. I think it's a chorus, delay, reverb, and bit crusher, which is like something that makes like degrades your sound to sound like a arcade machine basically. And it's all of that all in one, and it's got this really gorgeous artwork. I think it would have to be that, but the only downside would be I'd have to take at least 4 pedals off of my board to fit it on. So um and at that point it's halfway towards a multi effects processor, so I'm kind of on the fence about that. I really want it, but I don't really need that one, but I really want it. So I think that would be the dream one at the moment. Yeah, definitely.
Excellent. All right, Aidan, thank you very much. That was a brilliant episode.
Thank you very
Um,
much.
we'll see you again soon on future videos on the YouTube channel and for that chat with Eric on Eddie Van
Definitely.
Halen.
Yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to that. I mean, thanks for having me, Papa. Sorry if I babbled a bit too much. I'm out of breath now, but I really enjoyed it.
Cheers.
Right, thank you. Bye bye.